If they do that, they're going to be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Wilson! Oh! And we are tied!
Let's go! Call them by Slamma Jamma.
And I don't ever let them forget where we come from.
Getting those phones out. Report me acting ignorant.
Zion Chris got his way through, and he may go! Chris is in! Houston leads out of nowhere!
Seventh heaven for Houston. The Cougars advance to their seventh Final Four.
Go Cougs! Let's go! It's so good! The dream remains alive for the Houston Cougars!
Gardner, the Houston Rumbar Review, and that's us, Kenneth Bowman of Coog TV, and myself, Andy Yanez, with Pod Slamma Jamma here on the interwebs, whether you're watching us on YouTube, the Pod Slamma Jamma YouTube channel, the Houston Rumbar Review YouTube channel, or on X at Pod Slamma Jamma, or if any of the various Facebook posts on the Houston Rumbar Review and Chris Gardner Facebook pages. Kenneth, we are all over the place. Pretty soon we will also be on Instagram, hopefully one of these days when we figure that out. How are you doing on this Wednesday night?
I'm doing pretty good, Andy.
Let's get to it. We have some football to discuss. Friday night football this upcoming November 7th between the Houston Cougars entering the matchup 7-2 and the UCF Knights from Orlando, Florida. The space football game. It's not really a space race, right? So we're not talking about the peak Cold War, but we do have two universities that like to claim space in the United States of America. So we will see which one comes out on top. For Houston, obviously, coming off the heels of that very, very disappointing loss this past Saturday against West Virginia. Just all around, obviously, if you're a follower of the University of Houston Cougars athletics, you know all the noise, not just on the field product and the letdown, but everything that surrounded it when it comes to attendance and even just game day atmosphere. Kenneth, before we even get into Houston, UCF, I got to get your thoughts. What happened this past Saturday against West Virginia?
Yeah, it was a whole lot going on and off the field, I would say. We had a whole security issue with fans trying to have some fun. Eddie Yanez had to talk with the media about a whole bunch of other issues that occurred at the game. People talking about poor food quality, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, a lot happened, and then if just talking about on the field, I think it was just I don't know if they weren't locked in. They were partying on Halloween. The game started too early. They might have been, oh man, West Virginia, they're 2-6. We don't, we can sleep in for them. But I don't know. West Virginia came up and showed them something.
Yeah, and it's something that Bryce Bell, who helps us out on Let's Rage Cougs, mentioned after they had beat Arizona State. Really, it was a target on their back. Houston, for the first time since 2022, we talked about it. We made all the deal, all the noise about Houston finally cracking the top 25. They were ranked 22nd in the country. Like you mentioned, you have a bad West Virginia team heading into TD-ECU Stadium, 2-6, 11 a.m. kickoff on November 1st, right after Halloween. So all those aspects, and just quite frankly, no excuses. They just laid a huge egg, and it's disappointing, which is interesting. How much expectations can change your outlook on the season. If you would have asked any Houston fan at the beginning of the year, you're going to be sitting at 7-2 on November 5th. I think every single UH fan would have taken 7-2. But when you were heading into the matchup, only one loss, ranked top 25 in the country, and you lay such a big egg against West Virginia, it just completely changes the outlook. And I think the main thing that was disappointing from the get-go, and this is something that's been a trend in recent games with Houston Cougars football, even thinking back to when they played Oklahoma State, where the defense kind of gets punched in the mouth first. The opposing team goes down the field, they drive, they score a touchdown. But for the most part, Houston has been able to overcome that early drive adversity. And that wasn't the case this past Saturday against West Virginia. The Mountaineers just kept scoring and staying ahead. And there was a chance there where it seemed like, okay, maybe Houston would be able to get its stuff together. And it just did not happen. But the brutal pick six by Connor Wegman. And quite frankly, it was just a game that the Cougars didn't deserve to win. And uncharacteristic, a lot of turnovers for Houston in that matchup, which, again, was one of the things that we had talked about heading into it. Houston had done really well taking care of the ball heading into this game, and obviously that was not the case. That was not the recipe for success for Houston. Now they look to turn the page to UCF, a Friday night game. I think for Houston, for the players, they're kind of looking forward. They get not too much of a short week, right? But they get to turn the page. Granted, this game against UCF, it's a 4-4 team heading into the contest, but this is a team that has given University of Houston Cougars football program a lot of headaches in recent memory, and especially in Orlando. That's been a nightmare, a house of horrors for the University of Houston Cougars football team, and it's not going to be gimme, and it's going to be a test to see how Houston responds to getting flat out punched in the face against West Virginia and obviously knocked out in that game, and see if it snowballs or if they can get back to their roots and kind of what they have been all season, which has been getting the train back on the right track.
Yeah, this will be another test for Houston to see how they respond to adversity. I feel like they lost a game that they feel like they should have won. I mean, even after the game, they were saying that they felt they were the better team, but West Virginia just ended up coming away with a win. Just going back to the West Virginia game a little bit, I mean, they got walked down those first two drives, and they started off 14-0. And I think going into this week, the defense, we've been saying the offense has to start fast. I think the defense has to start fast too. They have to come out aggressive. They can't get down to early holes, and because offensively, I don't think this team can afford a shootout. And offensively, I think that the team performed well. I think Connor had a decent game aside from the turnovers, but even then, you came into the game with only 4 turnovers, and then you turned the ball over 4 times in that game, and it was still you lost by 10. So I think if you probably only turn over 1 less time or two less times, you probably walk away with a win.
Absolutely, and that's the most frustrating part, because despite how poorly and how badly they played, they were driving down the field with a chance to take the lead, and then that pick six was just crucial. It was brutal, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever cliche you want to use, with that pick six. And it's just more frustrating, and it boiled. I'm surprised at how much negativity came off of Saturday, not just the on the field product. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, these are college athletes, right? They're still college young adults, and sometimes they'll lay an egg. It's human nature, right? You might overlook it, but the disappointing part is, again, this was a top 22 team. This is the first time in several years that they had been ranked like that, finally truly building momentum, and now it kind of takes the air out of the season a little bit. And now they have to make sure that they buckle down and they can't let it snowball like maybe previous Houston Cougars teams have going back a few years, and not letting this snowball, because the last thing you need, go on a 2-game losing streak, and then all of a sudden you're 7-3, and then you have a couple of interstate battles upcoming with TCU and Baylor, and you go from potentially, and we were talking about, this could be a 10-2. We were even talking about, hey, I remember this conversation. We were like, you know what? We're looking at this schedule on paper. They have a really good shot at winning out. You go from the possibility of maybe even going 11-1 to, finishing, hopefully it's not the case, but finishing 7-5 or 8-4 down the stretch, and that would ruin a lot of the momentum that they were able to build, getting up to 7-1. So this is going to be very important. And again, this is a scrappy UCF team that, just in general, anytime Houston and UCF meet, it's tough for Houston, especially playing in Orlando. And I mean, when you look at the Knights and their conference record, they've only won 1 game in Big 12 conference play. That one win came against West Virginia, by the way, and it was a complete blowout for the
Yeah, they blew them
Mountaineers.
out.
And obviously, West Virginia just beat the Cougars. So there are no gimmies any given Friday in this case. But it's going to be interesting. We're going to learn, and I feel like we say this a lot. I guess the only time I didn't say it was last week when we were us. I think we could put us in that category too. From the outside, you're like, oh, it's West Virginia. And no, any given day, an upset can happen in college football and quite frankly in any sport. But talking about this game in particular, for Houston, they can't let it snowball. And this is an opponent, again, on paper that Houston, regardless of it being on the road, they should take care of business. But now it's a lot up in the air because the season it's crazy to think about, but it could go in a couple of different directions depending on what the outcome is on Friday.
Yeah, they do have to go into Orlando and handle business. I mean, Orlando is not an easy place to play. I mean, UCF has had a lot of success at home. One thing I think the loss to West Virginia, in my opinion, I think it sort of magnified the because obviously the team was coming in there with 7-1, but this wasn't a perfect team. We watched the team all year. We've seen the issues they had. So, and I think losing to West Virginia in the fashion we did, it sort of magnified the issues that we sort of noticed with this team all year, but maybe just were glossed over because the team was winning. And I think that's just, common with all, organized sports teams. When you're winning, there's, what can you say? We won at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the old saying goes, right? Don't ignore in victory what you wouldn't ignore in defeat. And they were. I mean, it's against West Virginia. There were a lot of things that made glaring in the loss. Now, turning the page, focusing on UCF specifically, like I mentioned, they're only have one win under their belt when it comes to conference play. Their overall Big 12 record heading into this matchup is not good. They've lost to the likes of Kansas State, to Kansas, to Cincinnati, and to Baylor. They absolutely got creamed by Baylor. They got destroyed 30-3 in their previous outing. So again, UCF kind of seems to be a program heading in the opposite direction, especially considering that they started 3-0 to start the season. They played against Jacksonville State and NC-A&T, and then UNC as well. That we saw that those three are not necessarily powerhouses by any stretch. They've had very, very difficult, brutal seasons in their own right. So, again, this is a game that Houston should take care of. But ultimately, Kenneth, and I'll ask you what kind of the reaction from the UH program has been leading up to this game. But I think this is all on Houston. They have to clean up. They definitely have to clean up the turnovers. That was just such a huge issue against West Virginia. Quite frankly, and you can. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I don't think that this Houston team is good enough, nor is it built to play from behind. Now, I know they've had that win against Oregon State, but they're at their best when they control the game, when they're up ahead and they can kind of impose their will. And again, on the road at UCF, that's going to be crucial. If they fall early, you give a UCF team momentum in a crazy atmosphere that Orlando could be, that's not going to bode well for Houston, in my opinion. And again, then you don't want the season to go in the opposite direction after you started off so good, at least 8 games in, and you had that one outlier a week ago.
Yeah, I don't think the team. I mean, I don't think they should look to start from behind because I don't think they have the talent. Like I said, I don't think they have the talent to get into a shootout or even come back. We've seen the comeback against Oregon State, but I think UCF is probably a tier or two talent level above in Oregon State. But yeah, they have to just be on their roles, do what they have to do offensively against UCF. Don't get behind. Defensively, you got to stop the run game. They got destroyed in the run game last week. So I think that and that's going to be something they have to adjust to because, UCF, they got some good running backs over there.
Absolutely. And real quickly, looking at the initial injury report for Houston UCF, we're about 3 minutes away from getting the updated one. So it'll be curious to see how it looks here once it officially gets released. But obviously, the big name for Houston is Carlos Allen Jr., who's listed as questionable for the Cougars.
Yeah, that's going to be big. I mean, in my opinion, Carlos Allen is the run defense. You see the difference when he has to get off the field for a breather, and how they hold up against the run with him off the field. So if he ends up missing the game, it's going to be a huge loss for Houston, and they're going to find a way. They're going to find somebody next minute to adjust.
Absolutely, and when we look at Houston, the performance that they had, really when you look at the turnovers, and specifically talking about the interceptions that Connor Wegman had against West Virginia, over like how would you assess those turnovers? Because again, like we mentioned, this was something that Connor Wegman had done a really good job in, and that's taking care of the ball, not throwing interceptions. And West Virginia was able to exploit something. What do you think? What do you attribute those INTs from? Was it scheme, or what say you?
In the first turnover, the first interception, I would say, I mean, it might have just been a little bit bad luck, but I do think the defender made a good play on the ball. He had the tip, and he hit it over to his teammate, and came away with the INT. The second turnover, I definitely put that one on Connor. That was just a bad block. I mean, we were watching it up in the press box. He kind of just floated it a little bit. I don't think he put enough power on the ball, and it was just free takeaway for the defender. But I mean, there's also some rumblings of Connor. He was having some trouble gripping. I don't know if that's, but that's what they were saying. He was given a towel to test his grip, and it didn't look, too great. And I also was told he was handed the tablet and he held it in his left hand instead of his right. He also wasn't available to the media following the West Virginia game, and which they didn't say it was due to injury. They said it was due to something else. And but they asked Coach Fritz about it, and he said he was fine. So I guess we'll see. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything crazy at practice regarding his hand, but we'll see going into the game.
Well, we shall see. And what about flipping on the other side of the ball? What did you see really from the defense, and how West Virginia was able to put up 45 points on this UH defense that literally a week ago we were talking about how phenomenal they played up against Arizona State, holding them scoreless for 3+ quarters of the game. And now you let they were the worst team in the Big 12 Conference heading into the matchup, put up 45 on you. Granted, obviously the pick six, so technically 37, but still.
Yeah, the pick six, but I mean, I would say that the offense kind of didn't do the defense much favors. Turnovers, they were very bad at just handling the ball. They had a lot of fumbles, so they gave West Virginia the ball in a couple of good spots. But I don't think the run defense played well at all. They were just getting ran over, and even like that 4th and 3 they gave up, and Scotty Fox took it for 34 yards for a touchdown. And that's just kind of unacceptable, just on what the expectation is for Houston defense. And also, I don't think the secondary had the greatest of days either. They were getting gashed through the air. Scotty Fox was dropping bombs on them.
We just got the new updated injury report. So still listed as questionable is Carlos Allen Jr., probable. Will James for Houston, the players that are already listed as out. Marquis Shoulders, Christian Brathwaite, Jay-Sean Ridgel, Kenzie West, Trevor Frederick, and Quandario Lee, along with Devin Williams, who's been out obviously a significant portion of the season. For UCF, on the other hand, tight end Thomas Wadsworth is doubtful, and receiver Marcus Burke is questionable. They have a handful of players that are listed out as well. So that's the updated injury report for Houston UCF. Kenneth, anyone stands out from the Houston perspective on that list? Obviously, besides Carlos Allen, who we just talked about.
I mean, Will James being probable, I didn't know he was dealing with anything, but it sounds like he'll be ready to go. But everyone else I see is kind of like the expected of guys that have already been out.
Looking ahead, again at the Knights, what was head coach Willie Fritz's uh, message, or what did he have to say about the Knights heading into this matchup?
He did have praise for their running game, and he kind of just had the same messaging. He's been consistent with his messaging. Is that we turned the ball over 4 times. We were -4 in the turnover margin, and he said it's hard to win games like that. He said Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers is hard. It would be hard for that team to win a game when you're -4 in the turnover margin. So he stands by his principles. Win the turnover margin, and you have a good chance of winning the game. And unfortunately, Houston did not, and they ended up losing.
Yeah, looking at those rushing numbers for UCF, their leading back is Miles Montgomery, who leads them in rushing with 572 yards on the season, scored 3 touchdowns. The running back Jaden Nixon leads them in rushing touchdowns this season. He's also put together a relatively good year with 423 rushing yards. He scored 6 total touchdowns. And their quarterback, Taven Jackson, has a little bit of a dual threat action as well. Threat in terms of scoring touchdowns. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns, thrown for 5 touchdowns as well through the air, and then thrown 4 interceptions. But definitely that running back duo in Montgomery and Nixon, that's going to be 2 key factors for Houston in finding success and shutting down UCF.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
So, when we're talking about keys to this game, Kenneth, what do you think Houston has to do well to come out victorious in Orlando?
I think the defense needs to start off fast, aggressive. They just from what I've seen, they like to start off on defense if they win the coin toss. So with that, if you start off on defense, you start off with a stop, hold them to 3, whatever, but keep your opponent out the end zone, and just get the ball back for your offense and allow them to have a good day. And then offensively, they have to start off fast. They have to just get into their scheme. Run game, got to get the running game going. Got to create a tempo. Got to hold the ball. Got to choose a clock, and just play Coach Fritz's way, and his go by his keys to success. And I think they'll come out with a win.
It's going to be interesting. The Houston, for talking about the offense specifically, the offensive line play, which again we've mentioned a lot this season, but UCF, Malachi Lawrence, the edge for them, he's accumulated 6 sacks for the Knights. He definitely has a chance to be a disruptor in the game on Friday if Houston's not able to hold him in check, and that could obviously create nightmares not only for the line, but for the offense as a whole. And for Connor Wegman, the last thing you want from him is to be on the floor a lot on Friday.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to keep Connor protected. I guess West Virginia, they had 3 sacks, so that might have contributed to him turning the ball over, or he's not feeling comfortable. He's feeling flustered. But also, I mean, on on the offensive side of the ball, you gotta block, protect better. And Connor, I mean, if you're feeling a little bit of pressure, you got to just roll with the punches and just try to play your game as much as possible.
Absolutely, and well, we shall see. Once again, Friday's game between Houston and UCF is going to be a 7 p.m. kickoff. Let me double check that. 7 p.m.
I believe it is 7.
7 p.m. kickoff. Let me make sure it's not Central Time. 7 p.m. FS1 for Houston. So it's going to be the lone Big 12 game on Friday night. So Houston will get a chance to atone for their last game against West Virginia. And again, it's a big battle. It's a tough test, even though UCF, again, on paper, they're kind of heading in the opposite direction. But we said the same thing about West Virginia a week ago. And it just historically has been a team that has given Houston problems every time they've met in recent years. So it's gonna be a tough challenge, and it's gonna be big for Houston if they are able to come out with the victory on top in the outing. Any final thoughts on this matchup when it comes to Houston UCF, Kenneth? Before I want to pick your brain a little bit about some basketball before we call it a day.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, three games left for the year. finish off strong. I mean, at the end of the day, you lost versus West Virginia. The game is over. The result is the result. You kind of just have to live with it and move on. And that's kind of what the team likes to stress every week. In terms of the team, where they stand at 7-2, if the Houston Cougars are sitting at 7-2, we're going to go 8-2. That's not bad at all from what we've seen out of the team the past years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So this team is obviously still building. I mean, you can kind of say they overachieved a bit, and it was a disappointing loss to lose to West Virginia. I think the team should be sitting at 8-1 right now, but what happened is what happened. And then the Big 12 championship is still. I mean, I would say it's maybe a long shot, but it's still a possibility if you get some help and the people up top lose. But right now, from where the team's bowl eligibility, they're 7-2. I would expect them to be 8-2 by the end of the week. And it's overall. I mean, you kind of achieved what you were supposed to this year, and now it's just about getting more. Obviously, you still want to go out there and get the best result possible, but the season is already a success, in my opinion.
Yeah, and going back to what I said earlier, it comes down to expectations, right? If you would have, like you said, beginning of the year, they're sitting at 7-2, a chance to go 8-2 against a 500 UCF team. You'll take it 9 times. Actually, no, not 9 times. You'll take that 10 times out of 10 at the beginning of the season. But now what they've shown on the field, the product, change of expectations for this Houston Cougars program, and obviously they're going to be looking to bounce back and come away with the victory against the Knights. Speaking about expectations, one team that has very, very high expectations on the campus of the University of Houston as well is the men's basketball team, who opened their season this past Monday night against Lehigh successfully, I might add. They came away with a 75-57 victory over Lehigh in their first game of the season. Thoughts on that matchup? Emmanuel Sharp led the way with 24 points, 7 rebounds. Got to the free throw line 10 times, only made 1 3-pointer. It came towards the tail end of the game. Milos Uzan didn't have the best shooting night, but still put together a solid game with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Chris Senack made his impact felt right from the get-go, and he had that flurry of scoring. And that, you know what? I was thoroughly surprised. And Kenneth, you probably have seen him during practice, but the way that he was catching and shooting in that first half, it was like, oh, whoa, okay. He looked so smooth. He looked so comfortable just doing that. What are your overall thoughts when it comes to the men's basketball team's open?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we've been looking at that dude Senack all summer. So I know this most recent practice before the first game that we went to. Him and Chase were working on they were working on their jumpers a little bit, and then that was some elite level shot making, because this is probably like 30 minutes after practice, so they're already tired. And I mean, and I can see it on them that they're tired, but they're still working through their jumpers, and then they're still knocking them down too. So I mean, I wasn't really surprised to see Chris come out in that first game and start knocking down threes. One thing I will say, I think in that second half, I think Chris probably settled a little bit too much on jumpers. But he is a shooting big, so you kind of have to deal with it, because I think he's an elite level shot maker. But I would have liked to see him go down low and be a big man more in that second half. But I don't really have any real complaints about his game.
And Giovanni, in the comments, you were right. Kelvin Sampson was here. He'd probably
I think it's Senack. I think it's Senack.
Yeah.
Kelvin does say Senack though, but on the official pronunciation on the athletics website is
Senack.
It's written out as
That's how they said it on the broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Senack.
It's Senack. And then to go back to the original comment, Sneed. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Kenneth. Sneed was active this past Saturday, correct, against West Virginia.
I don't really remember, but he's now on the agent report. So and he's been getting work in practice. He did get some work in last week too, so I would think he was active. But I just think they probably just held him out, just precautionary. But he's on the injury report this week.
Giovanni, thanks for the super chat sticker, $1.99. So keep track, Kenneth. We got the $1 from last week. Now we got $2, so it's $3. So next time I see you, there's $1.50 going your
Oh,
going your way.
let's go.
Um, this is a great comment from C. Anthony 37. Is JoJo ready to be a go-to scorer? I'll take this one first. He looked really, really rusty to start the game. Looked like they tried to go to him in the post a lot, and especially that first half, he had a lot of turnovers anytime he tried to make a play early in the game. Now, granted, obviously he's missed a lot of time over the summer with the injury. He just hasn't really had a full summer, and they're still working his way back. What say you? I think for him to be a go-to scorer on his team, it's not going to be needed when you have Ronald Uzan, you have Emmanuel Sharp, you have Sanak, and there we go, I got it right. And shoot, there's just so much depth. There's so many players that can go get a bucket. Now, Isaiah Harwell as well. That I don't really think that they need JoJo to be a go-to scorer. What say you?
Yeah, I said the same thing. I mean, they have all the talent that they have offensively. You don't necessarily need. I mean, if you're looking for a bucket, I mean, I don't think JoJo will be the first option, and that's not a knock to his game. But I mean, he's more so of the lockdown paint presence defender. But JoJo can score, and I do think he'll have I think he'll have a bigger offensive load this year just because of the guys that departed the team last year. But like you said, you got Milos handling the ball, you got Kingston handling the ball. Those guys, that those guys can score. Emmanuel Sharp, he seems like he's the number one option scoring wise. And then you have Sanak who can stretch the floor and move around. So I mean, JoJo, he's gonna score. He's gonna get his buckets. I do think that I think he looked better in the exhibition than he did again in the first game, but he's only gonna get better. It's November basketball. I mean, the team is where they want to be right now. But JoJo's gonna get some touches offensively. And hey, you see, he knocked down that 3-pointer though.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
ready to go.
Kelvin wasn't
No
happy
hesitation.
Kelvin wasn't happy that he pulled it, but he knocked it down.
Hey, no hesitation. That's what you like to see from all your players. Right? You're shooting with confidence. Now, granted, Kelvin Sampson on the other hand might probably saying, "What kind of shot is that?"
Yeah.
Not to quote Patrick Ewing, but yeah, hey, you know what? He made the best of it. He shot it with confidence, and he made it. The big fella showing his range on Monday. Obviously, they're gonna have their second game of the season on Saturday afternoon. At 2 p.m. from the Fertitta Center. So I'm sure you get out and you see Houston when they take on Towson this Saturday afternoon. The women's also had a really good opener last night against UTA. What did you see from the women's side?
Yeah, we were at women's. They played a really good game. Matthew Mitchell, he got his first win in his coaching return. I think Amira played a really good game. I think Jay Jones played a really good game. Brianna, she had 6 steals, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, it was just all around a good performance. And then it's just with women's basketball, I feel like there was sort of a little bit of hype, but there's not really much expectation for the team last year. So because I mean they only won 5 games last year, so I think anything better than that is a success. And you're already 1 out of 5 wins away from matching that. So I expect them to keep building. They have Rice next game, and so they probably come out with another victory against Rice. But yeah, I mean, women's they might have a good year this year.
Yeah, and shout out Coach Mitchell too. You don't see coaches anymore. Go the full blown suit.
Yeah.
It's kind of a throwback. I said, oh, okay. Pre-COVID times. I don't think Mitchell. We're not going to put Mitchell on tie watch like Kelvin Sampson was whenever he wore the suit. But obviously, I agree 100%. Great start for the women's. Hopefully, they can stack up some wins. They're already 1/5 of the way of matching last year's win totals. Like you said, not necessarily. There's some buzz with under Mitchell, but they're kind of playing with house money, which is there's only one real direction they can go from last season. That's up. Scott Doak's comment on YouTube. He says we need someone down low who can get a bucket. Surprised we didn't get anyone to fill Robert's shoes. I see what the argument is. I feel like this team's strength is not. I feel like honestly they can stretch the floor and they're going to have a lot more space to drive this season, and where you're going to see a lot of JoJo Tugler, especially once he get his legs under him. Then that's a pun considering that was what sidelined him most of the summer. But once he gets really into in rhythm of things later in the season, you're going to start seeing a lot of drives from the guards, and you're going to have a lot of Houston's athletic players. I think you're going to see a lot more explosive lob plays. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of paint scoring. I don't necessarily know if they have to throw it down to get one. I don't think that's the strength of this year's team in particular. Granted, it's barely the first game of the season, but after seeing Tugner, I don't know if that's his main strength, in my opinion. What say you?
Yeah, I don't really see JoJo as a kind of a back to the basket, back you down type of player. He has the post work in his bag, but I mean I think JoJo relies on that front facing floater. And like you said, I think they're gonna get a lot of lobs to him, both him and Snack. Um, I mean, Snag roaming the perimeter, JoJo in the dunker spot. I mean, I think this team offensively, there's way more they can do just with the personnel they have and the talent they have. Everyone, I mean, really, 4 out of 5 guys are elite shot makers, and there's just more you can do. We don't really need a guy to stand in the key and post someone up for 10 seconds. I mean, obviously that's what got them to the national championship, but it's a different team.
Jawan Roberts, yeah. And I don't think JoJo's there yet when it comes to where Jawan Roberts certainly was at last season. And it's just in terms of being able to go get a bucket when you need it. I think there's other better options for Houston if they're crunch time down one, they need a basket. I'd be surprised. Now, granted, that's why we're on the outside, we're not on the inside. But from the outside, I'd be very surprised if that was their go-to play late down the stretch. But who knows? Like I said, it's barely first game of the season. We will see how Houston gels as the season progresses. See Anthony ask, can Cordell be the next Malik Wilson? Who knows? He has to play more. We will see. That's what this time is for. It'll be interesting to see that. That's a battle. Cordell and Mercy Miller. Who ends up getting those guard minutes?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was a little surprised that Cordell got the nod over Mercy to start the game. Mercy ended up coming in later, but Cordell came off the bench first, which was, in the exhibition, I believe Mercy got in and Cordell didn't see the floor at all. So Kelvin, he is. I feel like in recent years he kind of already knew who his guys were, but in this game we kind of saw a bit of everyone. So he's figuring out the rotation, but yeah, Cordell, very, he could be that guy, but we'll just have to see. But in his few minutes that he was out there, I did like what I saw of Cordell.
And to your point about Sampson this season, it's kind of uncharted territory a little bit. You have some of the core returners, right? And JoJo Tugler, Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzan. You know that they're going to be the rocks. They're going to be anchors of this team for the season. But then you have a lot of, again, new players stepping into different roles. Even Cordell Jefferson, right? This is his 3rd year with the program, but in the previous 2 years, there's just been so many guys ahead of him. He hasn't been able to see the floor. So you kind of forget that he's been with the program for 3 years. So it'll be interesting to see what that battle looks like, and to see ultimately who wins out that position. It's going to come down to Cordell and Mercy Miller. So we'll see how that battle goes, and they still have a long way to figure out what exactly that rotation will be. So we shall see. Also talking about, also didn't realize how much, this is Giovanni's comment on YouTube, also didn't realize how much LJ did for us. Like, there's a lot of new faces, new pieces that Houston's trying to replace from last year's national championship team that was 3 points away from winning it all. So exciting times for Houston. They get a couple of games to see what kind of rotation is before they have their first real challenge, their first real test of the season when they have to play Auburn Giovanni says he was expecting a step back three from the corner from LJ Cryer. So, again, a lot of new players that have to step into different roles this year. That being said, that's pretty much going to do it for this edition of Pod Slam and Jam. A big thank you to everybody that took the time out of their Wednesday night to comment. If you're, again, joining us live, big thank you. Be sure to follow us on social media. Kenneth, I'll toss it over to you in a second, but this is Pod Slam and Jam, wherever you may be listening, whether it be on the Pod Slam and Jam YouTube channel or the Pod Slam and Jam X account. If you're listening to our audio-only platforms, make sure you follow us on social media at Pod Slam and Jam on X, Let's Rage Cougs on Instagram, and TikTok. We need to get to posting a little bit more. I need to go back out to some of them games, and then the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, Facebook. A big shout out to Chris Gardner for allowing us to also share his platform for these shows. Scott Doak. See, we talk about football and people want to talk about basketball. Scott Doak, 7360 says, "What happened to Mercy? Folks say he's a scorer, but he's missed like the last 40 shots." Hey, listen, man, it's all about rhythm, and it's barely game one, so we shall see. Crab says Houston Athletics is doing awesome. Really proud of them. So there we go. We have some positivity.
Oh, $20.
Scott Doak. Kenneth, here's your first pay. Well, I mean, you can't really say they pay, but it's how do we say this? It's a 200% increase from last week. So there we go. Per character looking at himself in the mirror. Per character looking at himself in the mirror, saying, "Thanks for being you," with hearts popping out of his eyes. Split that. Yeah, we will. Appreciate it, Scott Doak. And I will for sure. Kenneth, we're getting some NIL your way. Big thank you to everybody that supported both when it comes to this Pod Slam and Jam, of course, and Let's Rage Cougs, the original Houston post-game show after each and every single football and men's basketball game. We have a stack week. We'll be at it Friday night after Houston UCF, and we will be at it Saturday afternoon/evening following Houston's game against Towson this Saturday. So be sure that you're following us so you can see what we have to say about that contest this upcoming weekend. And that being said, big thank you. I'll toss it over to you, Kenneth. Anything you'd like to add, where people can find you on the interwebs, and then anything you might be working on for your respective outlets?
Yeah, GoCougs.com, Coog TV, my personal Twitter account. We try and push. We're gonna try to push some of the women's basketball content stuff this year. Football and basketball, of course, we'll be at those. We just got approved to go to the players there. They send our credentials through today. So
there you go. We'll see you in Vegas.
Yeah, end of the month. See y'all in Vegas. We'll be there. Getting some coverage in with the players. I mean, honestly, I'm really excited. I want to see Houston play, but there's some good games that I mean, in the women's games too. I know South Carolina's going out there, so it's going to be a very eventful 3 days of college basketball.
Will that be your first time in Vegas?
Yeah, everyone's asked me that. Yeah, it's my first time in Vegas.
How old are you, by the way?
22.
Okay. You know what? Hey, enjoy Vegas too while you're out there. It's a fun city. Interesting. I'm curious to see how it is Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure it'll be popping with all the tournament games. So enjoy it. You never know who you're gonna run into down the strip. So
that's facts.
Take care. I remember when a Big 12 tournament or Big 12 media day for football, they had it 2 years ago. And the Team USA was having an exhibition game in Vegas at the same time, and LeBron James was apparently playing poker. He was playing something. I think he was playing blackjack, or he was playing something in a random hotel casino. So you never know who you'll run into. So enjoy it, have fun, and shoot, if you run into LeBron James, take a picture. I was about. We didn't stay in the strip for the Big 12 media day, but I was like really contemplating either walking up to the strip or taking an Uber up there and even if it's from a distance, getting a pic with LeBron. But just enjoy it, have fun, and be sure you follow Kenneth and Coog TV. They're doing great work covering UH athletics. So make sure you follow them along all season long. Last thing I do want to say, before we log off. Be sure you're following the Pod Slam and Jam X account. We've done some giveaways the past week when it comes to both football and men's basketball, and then we have a couple more that we are going to give away both when it comes to men's basketball on Saturday and women's basketball tickets as well. If you get to see Coach Mitchell, the early stages of what he's building with the women's program, we're going to give away tickets to both men's basketball and the women's basketball game this Saturday afternoon. So be on the lookout for those two individual giveaways. Big shout out to Star Pizza, Mike and Jennifer Pittman for providing those tickets and giving them away. So if you're interested in going to the game on Saturday, you don't have tickets yet, follow along because you will have a chance to win some starting tomorrow and enjoy the weekend with the University of Houston Cougars. Once again, Houston and UCF football kick things off 7 p.m. Central Time, Friday, FS1 from Orlando. A big week for the Cougs, and that being said, we can't end the show without saying, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.